Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Maddie.
And this is our second week talking about Higurashi When They Cry, sponsored by our good friend Francesco, found on Twitter at JRPGT. You got your 5 minutes last week, and it was really hard, so we're not going to do that again. But yeah, you can find him on Twitter. You can find him on YouTube. He used to do a lot more Let's Plays. Now he just does occasional reviews and stuff. But you should go and subscribe and demand more content because he's definitely not busy at his new programming job.
No, definitely not. Not at all.
But before we get started, I want to share something interesting I found out about Higurashi while I was trying to get it ready to edit and send to Bernard. So, the music that we're listening to in the Steam version is actually the third soundtrack to this game. There was the OG soundtrack from 2002, which was all open source music. And then, one of the people, played it, one of his friends, and was like, "This is so good, but Jesus Christ, man, you can't keep using this music." And so Ryukishi, is saying the age-old game dev is hard, why don't you fucking do it? Was like, and the person was like, okay, and then wrote an entire soundtrack for the whole fucking game. And so that was the main soundtrack for a long time. And then, I guess this would be the fourth. So then when Manga Gamer licensed it, they put in new music. But then in April of last year, for some reason, they just replaced all the music, and most people don't like this new music, so it's not on YouTube anywhere. So the music that you actually heard last week is way better than the stuff that you can hear out of the box when you download it. The mod that we're using has an optional checkbox to restore the music, and I'm probably going to do that for episode 2. But
Gotcha.
It just was weird that I was like, oh, let me go and find this music. And I'm like, Higurashi soundtrack. And I'm like, none of these are the songs. What are you people talking about?
You know, that's really funny because last week or 2 weeks ago, I was bitching about the music being dumb. But since then, I've, slightly come around on it. I like a number of the tracks for what they are, even if they are kind of dopey. But one track I freaking love, and it's a shame that you apparently won't be able to put it into the episode. Yeah. The track that just whenever something super fucking freaky is happening, and it's just like extremely quiet ambient noise. Mm-hmm. Not ambient. I mean, it's like a harsh, upsetting noise, but it's very quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the during the live scene, this song plays.
Yeah.
It's a fucking great track. It's creepy as hell, and this episode around. There will be super, super long... Let's just say that song, it's a lot of playtime. Yes. But anyway, if you could put it in, that'd be cool. But if you can't find it, then I don't blame you.
Yeah. So let's listen to some music, ? And then we'll get started.
Just play Snow Halation.
Left our heroes. Where did we last leave off? Oh, Reina was outside of his room and he was freaked out.
Yeah.
That's the correct next morning. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of creepy mornings. I knew it was one creepy morning where we started, but I couldn't remember which one. But so the next morning, Keiichi's feeling sick, so he stays home from school. And his parents leave out of town for the day and tell him to go to the hospital. And he's like, I'm not that sick, but whatever. If you want me to go to the hospital, I'll go to the fucking hospital. And so he gets there and the doctor's like, yeah, it's just a cold. But on his way out of the hospital, he hears people in the waiting room talking about Onikakshi. And he's like, oh, well, I guess the whole town is haunted. So then...
Town's haunted.
He also overhears that Mio, the Tomitake's girlfriend, was a nurse, and they think that she and Tomitake had gotten eloped recently. and there's a stupid scene where I can't remember the exact wording because I didn't write it down. It just popped in my head. One of the like old wives that are talking or whatever is like, well, I wish they would have just done something official, and the other person's like, elopement is official.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point, is you run away to do something official instead of just living in sin or whatever. It was really, really cute.
Good Southern Protestant terminology there.
Yes. So
I'm sure they use that all the time in Japan.
Yeah. So on the way home, Big Tasty shows up and he stops Keiichi and is like, "Hey, why don't you come into town and we can go out to eat together, aka let's go talk about shit where there's not people trying to kill us."
Yeah.
And so they so in the car he's like, yeah, the police hit a snag in our investigation and they can't find a cause of death, but they know that he was beaten before death, so they're still looking for the perpetrator. And the diner that he brings Keiichi to is basically Hooters. It's like a maid cafe type thing, and
yeah,
it's great.
Just bringing a high schooler to Hooters, no problem with that.
Yeah,
it's great. So, so he explains all of the stuff that he found out, like how Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafuchi, or the ogre/demon's abyss. They translate it as ogre, but Oni is more usually demon, so it means a whole lot of different things. So I threw in that little little bonus Japanese lesson in case you don't know one of the most common Japanese words. But
hey, Sam,
yes.
Sam. When the townspeople all finally decide to go and kill someone and say, "All right, cool, let's do it," are they Onigafuchi to Gochi?
Stop it!
Oh my god! When will it end?
It will never end.
As soon as words stop ending in uchi.
So Big Tasty tells Keiichi an old story about how the Hinamizawans were known as demons, and they would eat people who slighted them, and the entire town would gang up to eat the people. And this was a story way longer than the 4 years that the things have been happening. And it was a common rule throughout all the stories he brought up that the Onigafuchians they wouldn't interfere with the hunt to eat the people. If they didn't interfere, they would be fine. So it's like, yeah, not everybody wanted to eat people, but as long as you didn't stop everyone from eating people, you would be fine. And if you ignore the atrocities, they won't happen to you.
Yeah, everyone knows that if good stands aside and does nothing, evil doesn't get to be evil
That's
anymore.
True.
Obviously.
That's a famous
quote.
Yeah, and so Big Tasty was so Keiichi is like, okay, yeah, but why the hell are you talking to me? And he's like, I don't know, we're at a Hooters. And he's like, no, like me specifically. Why? And he's like, oh, well, see, I did a background check on all of your friends, right? And every single one of them is involved in the past incidents. So Mion and the Overseer had a bunch of public altercations, and then Satoko's parents were the people that died the second year, and the priest and his wife were Rika's parents, and then Satoshi was Satoko's brother, which Eli had picked up on last episode, and I did not.
I remembered names.
Wait. What was it that was picked up on?
Satoshi
Hojo Satoshi is Satoko's older brother.
Yeah, they have the same last name.
Oh, yeah. I remember you did notice that. Yeah. I remembered you said that, but then when I got to actually playing, I forgot what the name that you had said was, so it was of no help to me. But good freaking catch.
You. Yeah, I know some Japanese, and I also remember names.
That's it.
And that's the skills that I have. They've gotten me far in life. They've gotten me to this point.
And hey, that's something.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
So Keiichi asks about Reina because he didn't mention her, and Big Tasty is like, well, she was suspended from her last school for breaking all of the windows with a baseball bat. And when she went to the doctor, she found out she had dysautonomia, which I looked up and is not what they say it is in this game. So they're making up a word that just means like nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Because
I looked it up too.
Dysautonomia is just like when you're sick and you don't know why. It's like
cool, realistic and responsible depictions of mental illness.
Yeah. But
yeah, I've got some words about that.
So like
yeah.
Dysautonomia has at times been used to refer to like a nervous breakdown, because like that can be one of the causes of a random sickness, like if it's like stress induced or something. So like I can see
most of my illnesses.
Yeah, so I
don't get real sick, I just get stressed.
So like I can see how they ended up here with like a basic wiki search, but since 2002 mental health has become like a real big thing, and so there's probably an actual name for what was going on. But
yeah, we actually know things now.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
But in the counseling with her doctor for it, she brought up Oyashiro-sama multiple times, even though she didn't live in Hinamizawa. I won't say anymore right now, but I don't think we actually learn about the anymore until later.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No, we don't.
Yeah. So
whatever,
it's fine. We're going to spoil the whole rest of it anyways, so it doesn't.
A large portion of this game is learning about character backstories, but you don't learn it all at once.
Yeah.
So you just learn something, and then the next scene you learn something else,
Yeah.
and the next scene you learn something else, and you're like, "Fuck."
Yeah. So Reina had said that Oyashiro-sama would stand over her bed every night and tell her things. And it was a scene. So she also was born in Hinamizawa but moved away before elementary school. So that's how she knew about him and knew of the thing and blamed him for all of the bad shit that she did. And
this girl needs a fucking exorcist,
right? And
that's what she needs.
She needs Jesus.
Yes,
she does need Jesus.
And so Big Tasty is like, I reached out to you because I'm retiring this year, and this was always like my big case over the last 4 years. I've known it was connected, but I could never prove it, and
now I
need
a little boy to help.
And so now I need you to help me. And so Keiichi's like, well, how can I help? And he's like, well, you're probably going to be the next victim, so I'm going to use your help to get it before the end of the next festival. And Keiichi's like, oh, so I'm bait.
Yeah.
Got it.
yeah. He figures that out real quick. Actually,
Yeah.
Keiichi's pretty smart.
Yeah.
He's pretty quick on the uptake. He's like, yeah, I see what you're doing here. You don't care about me at all. I'm gonna die.
He's really smart right here. He's really dumb for like the rest of this, where he's like, yeah, but Reina's too sweet, so obviously I don't have to be afraid of Reina.
Yeah.
Nah. Well, I mean, we'll talk about it later,
yeah.
but I get it.
Yeah, I get it too, but still, the horror movie sitting on your couch yelling at the screen the whole time was like, no, you dumbass.
When you're on the other end, it's easy to analyze it and go, oh, well, they're just being stupid, and if I was in that position, then I wouldn't do that, and blah, 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 blah. You don't know what you'd do in that position until you're in that fucking position.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have just
I would have cried.
killed myself.
I would have cried.
I would have
just.
I don't know what I would have, like, even like last episode when like we find out that Tomotage died. Like, I don't know what I would even do then. Like, that's. I
would have just cried a lot,
Yeah.
because that's what I do.
Maybe I would have just moved out of the town and never came back. But
that's the thing. It's like, that should always be the solution. Like, if you're in a horror situation, don't try to figure out what's happening. Just fucking run away.
Yeah.
leave.
You know what movie they do that in? The Birds. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to see that
rewatch
sometime.
it. It's a weirdly short movie, and they don't explain anything. It's like, there's all these birds, and it's fucked up and freaky, and then literally eventually they get to their house, and then eventually they get to their car, and then they drive off, and then the movie's over.
Nice.
That's it. They literally just drive off. And then it's like, and then they were fine because the birds were happening in this weird town, and they left.
Nice.
That's a good ending, I think.
They should.
It's a great ending.
They should remake that movie and give the birds a sympathetic backstory.
Stop that. Do a sequel hook.
Yes.
Okay, wait, actually, I totally would be down for, like, a Hitchcock cinematic universe, shared universe thing.
Man.
Yeah.
Like, it would be stupid, and it would ruin the integrity of the artistic purity of those films, but this is 2019. We're all about ruining the artistic integrity of things.
Yeah. I also would love it if, like... So, Hulu did that with Castle Rock for Stephen King's...
My dad's in that.
Words.
Oh, yeah.
He's in that?
What?
Yeah, he's an extra in the prison.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cute.
That's super awesome. But Mark Bernardin, the co-host of Fat Man on Batman with Kevin Smith, he's one of the writers. And so they basically were like, what Stephen King's stuff doesn't take place in the same universe, and it would break a lot of the universe's rules. But understanding that, let's do that anyways and do it lovingly and with care. And I think that somebody that really looked up to Hitchcock could do a Hitchcock cinematic universe with, like, a wink at the camera that is like, yeah. We're combining it, but we're doing it because we love Hitchcock, not because we want 2019 money.
Yeah, and we're not trying to, like, say that this is actually an accurate, like, representation of the film's vision. We're just, like, doing a dumb thing.
Yeah, and that I could be real down with that.
Yeah, I totally would be too. Anyway.
Anywho, so when Keiichi gets home, he gets a phone call from Mion, and they're like, oh, we were worried about you, so we brought you some mochi that Mion's grandmother made. And this is where it starts.
Yep.
And
this is a very eventful day for Keiichi.
It really is. So, but of course, because they're insane and it's all for the club, wink wink, they put a letter on each mochi, and they have to make him guess which one that Reina made. And
I immediately was like, don't eat the one that Reina made.
Right? And so everything's fine until Mion just is like, yeah, so we brought you all this dessert, but what'd you eat for lunch? And he's like, oh, well, I went out to eat. And they're like, with that old guy? Who's the old guy? And he's like, it didn't have anything to do with you. And it's like, God damn it, Keiichi.
Fuck you, Keiichi.
Like, you can't just say this. Like,
I mean, look, I've done that.
I mean, yeah. But finally they call him on it, because he did this last week too, or week. It was like 4 weeks ago. But
he was like, I don't see what that has to do with groundskeeper Willie. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And they're like, why'd you even bring us up? But it's okay because we already know everything. And then they left. And so at this point, Maddie had already played past this and was like, oh, when you get to the scene with the chain on the door, it's really creepy. And I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for that scene. I'm ready to be scared. And so right here, the door pushes open and it cuts in, and you see the chain on the door, and Mion's face is right up to it, and she's like, I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow. Yeah. Make sure you get some rest. And I'm like, whoa, that is creepy, but that wasn't even that's not even the scene, man.
That was not it.
Yeah.
Not there yet.
I was like, ooh, that was so good. But yeah, it's buckle up, folks. So Keiichi is then thinking to himself, and he's trying to talk himself out of his friends being murderers, and is like, no, see, it was a coincidence, and this, that, and the other, and like, yeah, they're victims in the whole thing because of their families and stuff. So it's not a thing. Like, it's fine, it's okay,
their
but
own families.
It's like, yeah, they didn't murder their own families, and you know what? Fuck that old guy, and fuck Tomitake too. They deserved it. And he's just like, wait, what did I just say? And I'm like, are you okay, Keiichi? Are you fine?
I don't think he's fine.
I don't think he's fine. So he snaps himself out of it, and he goes to get the mochi that they brought for him, and he goes to eat the one that he thinks is Reina's. But there are needles in them, like sewing needles.
There's a sewing needle inside the food. Yep. There sure goddamn is.
Yep. I was thinking it might be
He almost swallows it.
You know.
Nope. Needles.
No, that would be normal and a regular, humane way to fucking murder somebody. No, they had to do it something fucking weird and fucked up.
Yep. And so he describes like one nearly getting stuck in his throat, and my squeamish ass like nearly barfed.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
Like,
Although, at the risk of making you more squeamish, just a quick question. What would happen if you swallowed a needle? Would you like fucking die? I feel like you might. Maybe
because it would tear up your insides.
Like. Yeah. That's what I'm imagining. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure that that's actually relatively accurate. But yeah, that was my impression. I was like, so like this would kill him.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems like it would kill him,
or at least in the fiction of the universe, it would.
Yeah, definitely.
But also probably in real life. I'm not going to go experiment.
Yeah.
Go look up.
Turns out bodies can die real easy.
Yeah.
Go look up on like WebMD swallowing needles and see what comes up.
Swallow a needle. Yeah.
I won't do it.
So somehow after this attempt on his life, Keiichi wakes up the next. First off, somehow he goes to sleep. Second off, somehow when he wakes up, he convinces himself that Mion is probably just looking out for her friends and is a good person at heart, and this was just some sort of a prank.
Yep.
And I'm like, Keiichi, you're dumb as hell. This was an attempt on your life, and she threatened you 5 seconds before you ate this attempt on her life.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell,
also,
Keiichi?
Why did you eat any of those?
Right?
He is wanting to believe that he is just going crazy and is paranoid.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he is paranoid. Yes. He's just also
correct.
Right about this situation.
Just because
but there's
you're
other things in the story that he like.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like there are a number of situations in the story where he does jump to a conclusion. Because of paranoia. So that's and this is where I said the story starts going in the direction I didn't expect, which is to say the story starts going super hard on Keiichi's psychology, right? Yeah. And I love this back and forth of I'm in mortal danger. All my friends are literally out to murder me. I can't do anything. I have to just be 100% no nonsense protecting myself. Because of otherwise I'm gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other half, which is I'm just a complete fucking idiot who is overly paranoid, and I'm misunderstanding something simple, and I'm being an asshole to my friends, and I of course you're right. Like with something as obvious as a literal needle in the mochi, it's not like the story itself is being vague about this, but I get it.
Yeah. So, Reina walks him to school again the next morning, and he's like every time she brings up something that's happened in the last couple of days, he just like deflects, and he's just like, "No, I'm just going to ignore it. It's going to all go away if we don't talk about it. Everything's okay." And then she's like, "So, how about those mochis? Did you eat all of them?" And he goes on this long hypothetical, like he just doesn't answer her, and then we get a like flashback inside of his brain for a long time, and he's thinking about back when Reina broke all the windows at the school, and he keeps trying to talk himself out of suspecting her, and it's this big whole long thing, and in the end he's just like, I don't suspect her. After all, and even though he goes through and he like visualizes, and we get a CG of Reina smashing the windows and cackling maniacally, he's just like, nah, that ain't real. and so he's just like, I couldn't finish them all. And she's like, well, Mion's going to be upset at you. And so they eventually continue on towards school. So when they're there, Satoko gets him with an eraser full of chalk, and he doesn't even care. He just like walks. He just walks to his seat, just like, whatever. It's just a fucking eraser. And so then Mion asks about the mochi, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't finish." And she's like, "Well, I gotta think about your punishment." And so while she's thinking, it goes back inside Keiichi's head, and he's thinking about how all of his friends are involved, and should I say that my friends are murderers, or it's just a curse? And then while he's fighting with himself, accidentally says out loud to the whole class, "Cut it out, Keiichi. Don't you realize they're trying to kill you?"
Yeah.
Whoops.
Oops.
And he's like,
Oops.
I don't think anybody heard, but like the room got quiet and the music stopped, so everybody obviously heard you, Keiichi.
Yep.
And so
Record scratch.
Yeah.
Freeze frame.
yeah. And so he does it again in a second. But so he doesn't think that anybody heard. So, but the day ends and they get ready for club. And Keiichi even mentions, he's like, "I don't feel like we were here all day." And I'm just like, it's like 12:30, and Chie was just like, "Oh, he's on to us. Let's just end class so that we can get this party started." And so that he gets ready for club, and Keiichi's like dragging his feet, not wanting to do it, and the girls are like hurt that he's not jumping at the chance to like play games. And he almost talks himself back into accepting everything as normal and sitting down with them. Then he literally slaps himself out of it. He slaps himself across the fucking face, and it's just like snap out of it. "These are your murderers." So he's like, "I can't do club today," and he just leaves and goes home.
Yeah.
And his parents are having some boring conversation when he gets home for dinner, so he has a chance to just think through everything. And he realizes that he can't tell his parents because it will both endanger them and then also they wouldn't believe him at all, and it wouldn't accomplish anything. So he realizes that Big Tasty is the only person that he can trust, and even then, Big Tasty is basically just using him as bait. So he's kind of up a shit creek right now.
Yep.
And Keiichi then thinks that he should have protection, so he's going to take the baseball bat from the school and say he's...
So he goes to Planned Parenthood?
Yeah. So he's going to take the baseball bat from the rec shed at school and say that he's practicing his swing because he wants to get into baseball, and just keep it on him at all times for protection. And as well, he's going to write a letter for everything that he finds out about his friends and leave it for Big Tasty to avenge his death if he has to, just in case he can't talk to Big Tasty in person again. So he writes the letter and tapes it to the back of the clock in his room and tells his parents, "So I really like the clock in my room, so if I ever die for some reason, can you put the clock in the coffin with me?" And they're like, "Wait, what the fuck? Like, what's wrong with our son?"
This scene is quite funny. And he's, like, trying his very best to, like, play it off like it's no big deal. And he thinks that's gonna work. Like, he thinks that he can play off, "I'm going to die before with his parents," without his parents thinking it's weird. And it's like, come on, man.
It's so funny. In my notes, I wrote, "Puberty is weird."
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing. On one hand, it's very concerning and alarming. On the other hand, obviously I've never been a parent, especially not a parent of a teen, but I can imagine them just being like, yeah, like, well, our kid's weird. like if you were a parent and your kid had that conversation, like, you wouldn't call a psychiatrist. You'd probably just be like, well, okay.
Cool.
I guess our kid's having a weird day. Like, you know, what the fuck? Who knows what's going on in that idiot's brain?
Yeah, I would do the same thing they did, where they're just like, "Is something the matter? Do you want to talk about something?" And he's like, "No, I was just saying," and left you to this room. I would just turn to Summer and shrug. Just like, "Oh,
yeah,
fucking weird-ass kid."
Yeah.
Honey, our son's turning into a god.
Yeah.
He's really into death.
He's made his metamorphosis into a beautiful goth butterfly.
Yes. So, Keiichi decides to leave for school before Reina shows up the next morning, so that he can walk by himself. And so while he's walking, everyone is asking where Reina is, because this is the first time that he's gone to school without her. But he doesn't lie to a single person, and he basically tells every person what's going on. So obviously the town's all in on it, and they just tell each other because out of nowhere a van hurtles towards him to try and knock him off the fucking road, and he dives out of the way, but it hits him in the fucking shoulder and sends him sprawling into a rice paddy. So shut your damn mouth, Keiichi Maebara. Just stop fucking talking.
I think he's like, I have to act outwardly like everything is completely fine, and that way I don't like arouse suspicion or something like that.
But he instead is just making them all tweet at each other to coordinate a fucking attack on his life again.
They all have a group DM going on.
Yeah.
They're sharing Keiichi memes in the WhatsApp.
No, this was back in the 80s, so they did the thing where they had a group DM spiral notebook that you would pass between all your friends. Did you guys ever have that?
No, I don't think I ever had such a thing.
Wow.
I get the idea, though. That's very cute.
Yeah, and so that was like an offline chat room that we all had, and we would just pass it around like every class.
And you never have
period.
to worry about the whole thing where one person's typing and then you see someone else typing, so you stop, and then they see you typing and then they stop.
Exactly.
I hate that so much. And when someone's typing forever and ever and ever, and I'm just like, come on, I just want to say something, but I don't want to interrupt
and then it comes out, and they're just saying ha ha, but like they just like,
and you're like, no, I know you were fucking saying something, asshole. What were you saying? Don't delete that shit.
Or it comes out and it's a fucking wall of text, and now I have to sit here and read this when I had something to say, and now I don't get to say it.
Yeah. So
or you can just not. You can say TLDR.
So we've started our Discord D&D like a couple of days ago, and so like to make because we have a Discord bot that lets me do a lot of like DM sort of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so to get that stuff ready, I like type out in advance because it's a lot of like a string of bot commands, and so they'll be role playing, and I'll just be setting up like the shell of what I need to say. But then they see that the DM's typing, so let us stop role playing because something's about to happen. And I'm like, no, I was going to respond to you in character. To do that, I have to do a lot of shit. Just fucking role play.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Keep going. You're fine. Yeah.
I wish I could turn off when I was typing.
Why don't you just type in a notepad and then copy it over?
Yeah,
I made a side chat with just me and the robots to do that.
Oh, okay.
To make it easier.
That works.
But anywho, so Keiichi gets to school and it's looking around trying to find a weapon, but the shed for the gym is all locked up. So he looks around his classroom and he finds a locker that's unlocked, and inside has the metal bat from the shed. And he's like, "That's weird that it's in here, but I'll take it. And if anybody comes to ask and be like, where's my bat?" Be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was borrowing it." Totally cool to steal from people as long as I say I'm sorry and give it back. So he goes outside to practice his swing, and the girls see him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to try out for regionals." And they're like, "Okay, you do you, I guess." And so they go inside, and then after school, he skips club practice again. But when he's on his way home, he can tell that he's being followed. Like, somebody's trying to match footsteps with him, but they're not quite good at it. So he can kind of hear the footsteps. So he, like, yells out and is just like, "I know you're there!" Which never works, because if I'm stalking somebody, I'm not going to be like, "Okay."
Yo, if you're there, you have to tell me. Right? It's in the Constitution. This is another part, though, where I feel like it's like, he's like, I know someone's following me. The reason I know that is because I can't hear their footsteps, which proves that they're matching my footsteps. And I'm like, see, that's exactly something a crazy person would say.
Yeah.
I just remembered the fucking invisibility scene that's coming up. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
So he turns around and like retraces his steps, and sure enough, like in the bushes was fucking Reina, and she's like, oh, I just wanted to walk home with you. We always walk home together. And he's like,
that's why I hid in the bushes.
He's like, then why didn't you say something when I turned around and asked who was there? And she's like, and it's like, so you're going to walk fucking in front of me because I don't trust your bitch ass. And so he's like, all right, now leave. And she won't budge. And she's like, why do you have an interest in sports? And he's like, I'm a teenage boy. It's not weird to suddenly like sports. And she go,
I'm a Japanese kid. Of course I want to be
right. And so she asks him point blank. And it's like, why is even your bat the same as Satoshi's? And she's like, wait, what the fuck? And she's like, why are you doing the exact same thing that Satoshi did when it happened to him? And she's like crying.
When he quote unquote like, transferred.
Yeah. And but he's like, well, what do you mean by that? She turns around and she has that super up close, creepy, bug-eyed sprite. And it's like, I already told you he transferred out, but you won't, will you?
And he's like, if you told me what that was, then I could not do it.
Right? And so she leaves, and on the way home, he wonders about what she means by transfer, and if Satoshi is out there somewhere, he might be able to help. Because if he did transfer by just got the fuck out of Dodge, maybe he can understand Keiichi and have like a sympathetic ear and tell him either he's being paranoid or if he should get the fuck out of Dodge. But when he gets home, the door is locked as if his parents aren't home. So he's like, well, that's weird. And he lets himself inside, but he feels someone come in the door right behind him. Like he feels their body heat type thing. So he's like, okay, who the fuck is there? And he hears a... And so he turns around and there's no one there. So he's like, don't know how you're invisible, but fuck you. And he swung his bat in the direction that he heard it and all around and everywhere. And he can feel like there's a panic in the area, but he doesn't find anything. So the presence disappears and he locks the doors and then all the doors in the house and then all of the windows. And he goes upstairs to protect himself. And
this scene, there's one more important detail about this scene. Also, he doesn't just swing the bat. He
he
swings
smashes
it a couple times,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And each time he's like, my bat swung against nothing but air. That means the invisible person must have dodged the bat. Sneaky devil. But in the process, he smashes the fuck out of like the whole hallway. Most notably, he smashes a piece of furniture. I forget what it is.
Yeah, entry stand or something.
Yeah, there's some kind of little entry stand that's made of wood, and he smashes it, and he's like, oh shit, I should probably clean that up before my parents get back. Ah, fuck. But then he swings a couple more times and like swings against the wall and stuff, so he's just having a normal one. He's just having a real normal time in the entryway with this definitely real, actually definitely exists invisible invader, because he definitely didn't just like, I don't know, forget to close the front door.
Yeah. So, so when he's upstairs, he's talking to himself, and he's like, okay, so if they can turn invisible, am I facing demons or am I facing humans? I don't fucking know. And I'm like, at the time I was like, I could see that if there's some sort of supernatural what's-a-who's-it going on in this town, because I just have a feeling like it could be. I think that it's people, but I think it's people with a supernatural element. I don't think it's a curse. I think it's like, oh yeah, we all have invisibility powers because we're fucking weird country folk. But so he gets a call from his mom, and they're like, hey, we had to run into Tokyo for a few days for a business thing. And Keiichi is like, oh, I've seen Home Alone. I can't let them know that I'm alone. So he like rigs up silhouettes of people in front of the door like they're dancing. And
he places he uses miniature cars all over the floor so that someone's going to trip on them.
Yeah, he uses an old VHS tape to order pizza. And
he plays a country western. Or he plays a western film on the TV, and it makes the bad guys think that they're gonna get shot by John Wayne.
Yeah,
exactly.
But no, for real, he turns on the lights in like his dad's office and downstairs in the living room, and he goes to close the garage and get the mail, etc.
Keiichi's parents leaving tricked him into doing chores, and honestly, that's the scariest part of this whole visual novel.
They come back, haha, we didn't leave, but thanks for cleaning the whole house. No, he posts on Instagram, he's like, haha, is this selfie? And he's a really close-up selfie, and he's like, having a great evening at home with my parents. They're here too, just outside of frame.
They're definitely here.
Yeah,
they're definitely right here,
really
right
real.
inside of me.
He takes it like right next to like the coat rack, so it's like his dad's coat is in it. He's like, "See, that's my dad right there."
There's actually a famous tweet of I believe it's a politician or something, and no, it's a fucking pundit, just some dumbass on Twitter that we all like to dunk on, and he's like, it's a close-up of him like smiling and laughing with an alcoholic beverage in his hand, and he's like, great night out with my friends, they're here, they're all here, just out of frame.
That's so
and
funny.
like, it wasn't a joke.
That's amazing.
So it's so funny.
Oh my god.
I need to find that now. But
I will find it. I will send it to you.
So he goes upstairs and he gets a phone call from a villager, and they're like, "Yeah, I wanted to talk to your mom. Is your mom home?" And Keiichi's like, "No."
Shit.
Dumbass. He's such a fucking dumbass. He's like, I need to make sure that everyone thinks that my parents are home. First person asks, "Hey, are your parents home?" No.
Well, he does say, he's like, if I say they are, then they're going to say, well, can I talk to them?
Yeah. So
so I think he says something like, they'll be back real soon, or something like that.
He tries to play it off, and then he's like, nailed it, and he did not, in fact, nail it.
He did not nail it.
He did the opposite.
Arrested Development narrator voice, he didn't.
Yes. So he gets another call from Big Tasty, and he tells him everything that's happening. And but before he can get to the bit about Reina following him, the doorbell rings, and he goes to open the door, but he leaves it chained, and so he sees that it's Reina, and she's like, "Oh, have you eaten tonight?" And she's like, "I brought you some of my grandma's famous pickles," and he's like, it's the middle of dinner time, so if she brought me food, she would know that I wasn't eating with my family right now. So how the fuck do you know that my mom wasn't home? Is it because I just told someone that my mom wasn't home?
No, that can't be it. That can't possibly be it.
Not at all. And so he's like, "Oh, my mom is cooking dinner. She started cooking a little late." So, and Rain's just like, "What do you mean cooking? Your dinner can be made with just hot water." He's like, Wait, what? What do you mean cup ramen? No, my mom's like really inside. She's really cooking, I promise. And
she's like acting like she's confused because she knows his parents aren't there, but she's not telling him she knows his parents aren't there.
Yeah.
But she's acting the way you would act if you knew someone's parents weren't there. She's acting like what he's saying is confusing instead of acting like what she knows is true, which is that he is lying.
Yeah.
Which is really creepy.
Yeah.
Like, instead of calling him out saying you're lying, she's like, I don't get it.
Yeah. And it's good. And so and so he keeps like toeing the party line. It's like, "No, I'm telling you, my mom is cooking, yada yada. And she's just like, "Yeah, but like, why would your mom be here? Like, that doesn't make any sense, blah, 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 blah." And so then she just stops and is like, "Why?" And he's like, "What do you mean why?" And she goes, "Why have you been lying to me? That was another lie, wasn't it?" And he goes, "No, it's not." And then we get another, "Uso da yo!" Which is so good. Her fucking, that voice clip is like, I love it. It's so good. But, and, sorry. She not only did she know that he was making cup ramen for dinner, she knew the flavor that he was eating and where he bought them because she was following him the whole time. She says that the presence you feel right behind you is me, it's always been me.
It's me, Austin.
So open up and we can eat dinner together. Kana. And just like when she goes crazy, this is one thing I noticed. So like normal Reina draws out her words, but crazy creepy Reina repeats the last word of her sentence all the time.
She's regular Reina does that too.
Yeah, she does.
She's been doing that since the first fucking line of the game.
Okay, I just don't remember it, and it's like played for fucking creeps in these parts. It's like highlighted.
Oh, it is played for creeps. I agree with you there.
Yeah, and so I didn't.
No, that's just like her quirk.
Yeah, I didn't notice it before. I've noticed all the when she would go how and the kai and all of those sorts of things, but I didn't notice the repeating sentences. So he's like, he backs up a little bit, and then the door starts to shake, and he notices that she has her fingers through the fucking crack trying to take off the chain so she can come in. And Keiichi's like, just fucking leave. And she's like, not even responsive. She's just trying to like come in. So he slams the door where her fingers are still in it. And he keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And she's now like
so much.
And now,
I know.
And now she's like not creepy mode anymore. She's just like, I'm sorry. Sorry. Like I can't. Like this hurts. Like open the door. Let my fingers out. And he's just like, no, I can't fucking trust you. I'm going to just keep pushing and pushing. And so she manages to pull them out. And her I'm sorry has turned into Gomenasai, just over and over nonstop. And he's just like, oh, fuck that shit. And he just runs upstairs because she's just still there at the crack. Yeah. Just
also, I feel like it should be noted this scene goes on for fucking...
Yeah.
Her fingers are in that goddamn door for like 10 minutes. Yeah. It's like...
It's excruciating.
And she keeps hollering louder and louder, and then he just does not let up, and he just keeps like pulling even harder on her fingers. I'm just like, fucking hell.
All the while, Big Tasty's still on the phone upstairs.
Yeah.
And this whole time he was on the phone, and then he was like, hold on, Big Tasty, you gotta go downstairs for a second.
Yeah. And so when he gets upstairs, Big Tasty was like, oh, you were only gone for a few seconds. No big deal. And Keiichi's like, wait, what the fuck time Twilight Zone shenanigans just happened? Which, of course, because he thinks he's paranoid, he then starts to like
try and rationalize,
trying to rationalize it, and is like, oh well, obviously this whole big thing couldn't have happened because I was only gone for a couple of seconds. There's obviously something okay, but then it starts raining, and Keiichi had the window propped open to get some air because, as we learned last week, there's no air conditioner in 1983. So he's like, oh, well, I don't want the rain to get in, so let me go and close the window. So he goes to close it, and in the rain, down below his window, staring up at him is Reina, and he's like, is she chewing on something? And then he looks closer, and he reads her lips, and she's not chewing on something. She's still going, gomenasai, 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 gomenasai. It's fucking creepy. It's good. And so Keiichi then is like, I will not forgive you. I will not forgive you. I will not forgive you. And Big Tasty on the phone is like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then I got caught up because the game is real good, as you can tell by what I had just said. I forgot to take notes right when it happened. Did I miss anything before it cuts to the next day? Did Big Tasty say anything else on the phone?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure they resumed their phone conversation, but anything that he would have said at this point we'll probably cover again later, so you're probably fine.
Okay, cool.
It should be noted that we were going to record last week, and I'm not criticizing or anything, it's fine that we had to wait a week, but not only were we going to record last week, but I actually was extra diligent and had finished it almost at the beginning of that week.
Yeah.
So, I thought we were going to record the week before even. I had just misread our own schedule. So I played this shit like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. It's been a hot
and that was due to my own over diligence for once, also because it's really good and I couldn't stop playing it instead of playing Lost Odyssey, even though we were recording Lost Odyssey and we weren't recording Higurashi.
It happens. So the next day Keiichi has stayed up all night, and he's been watching the window to make sure that Reina didn't come up through the window to get him. And so when the day breaks, he looks down and Reina's gone. So he decides to go to school and find hard evidence so that he can pass along to Big Tasty instead of just hearsay and talking about the crazy shit his friends do. So when he gets to school, he's practicing a swing again, and he hears Reina say that, like, Satoko's like, oh, what happened to your fingers? And Reina's just like, oh, I hurt them in the kitchen. And so Mion breaks off from the group to come and talk to him, and he just gives her the cold shoulder. But this time she's not leaving. She's just standing there, and she's like, when did you even get into baseball? And he goes, yesterday. Which is just a great fucking response. And he's like, I don't think she'll attack me right here in the open, but I'm not taking any chances. So he like makes a worse bat swing to make it an even wider berth where she can't come up to him. And he while he's thinking in his head, he also realizes that Reina's not a cute little girl. Like, even if like things
she's got a gun.
Well, Mion has the gun, not
Yes.
Reina. But
oh, I thought you said Mion. My bad. Anyway,
and so he's like,
he's talking with Mion in this scene.
Yeah, he's talking with Mion in the scene. So he's like even if Reina, like the things with Reina can be like I maybe misconstrued, she still like tried to break into my house last night and like threatened me and said that she was always behind me. So I can't just like only think she's a sweet little girl I'm misunderstanding now. Like there's definitely something else going on. So Mion tells him flat out to stop swinging, and he's like, why? And she goes, that's Satoshi's bat. And Keiichi's like, but it's okay because he transferred, right? And Mion is like, what? Wait, oh, yeah, transferred. Totally.
That's the thing is that what we're saying?
That's the lie we're telling you. And Satoshi's...
Jeez, get your story straight.
And Keiichi's like, well, it's weird that only the brother transferred, though, right? And Satoko was the one that stayed. And she's just like, He's like, well, Reina didn't want me swinging Satoshi's bat either. Is this a omen for Oyashiro-sama or something? And she's just like, don't talk about Oyashiro-sama. I don't believe in him, but other people do, and it'll be disrespectful to other people who are obviously in this conversation.
Yeah. Because
that's why you should police your inner thoughts, even if there aren't people around to hear them. And so then he lays on to her, and he's like, so you guys have been lying constantly. You tried to kill me with the fucking mochi, right? And she goes, yeah, we did, but it was just the prank, bro. And
he's like, why the fuck
lying.
you lie?
I was gonna sing it.
Why you always lying?
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
So
Stop fucking
lying.
So
Yeah.
funny story. When Scarlett was a baby, as you know, babies cry all the fucking time, and every single time she would cry, I would just be like, "Why you always crying?"
Baby Rashi when they cry.
Yeah, it never got old. So Keiichi is like, even the cops are onto you, and I won't let you make me disappear like you disappeared Satoshi. And we're not friends anymore. And Miona's like, she doesn't deny a single thing. She's just like, well, you're being mean. And and he's like, I don't give it. He's like, yeah, I don't give a shit if you think that I'm being mean. I'm going to protect myself. So then as he starts to go inside, Mion gets a real creepy, super close up of like demonic red eyes. And she goes, so it was that bastard. He leaked it all to Kei-chan. I'm like, okay. Thanks for the pure admission of guilt of some sort, Mion. So, I'm now horrified of you, and things are not going to go well for our boy Keiichi.
No.
This is basically the same thing as yesterday when Gongoro walked like 1 foot off screen,
Yeah.
and then starts doing a creepy laugh. She's like, I could say, she's like, if I cheat out to the audience and say something in my soliloquy voice, then the characters in the story can't hear it, right? And Keiichi's like, I'm right here.
I'm right fucking here. And so Mion even says, I should have killed him back then. He forgot the mercy that I showed him because he was going to retire this year. And it's like, cool, you're a killer. So, I'm not going to call the cops immediately for some fucking reason. I'm just going to go to homeroom because Japan is weird about how important school is, and he doesn't just fucking leave to go call the cops.
Seriously. If this is in America, he would just be like, yeah, I'm not going to school.
Yeah.
And everyone would be like, yeah, we don't really care about your education anyway because this is America. Except for Kamala Harris, of course, who would be like, I'm going to throw your parents in jail.
Yes. So, he finishes his school day and then goes home, and he's like, somehow I always knew this would be the last day, quote, of this cycle. And I'm like, what? But having played Umineko, which is literally like a Groundhog Day type thing, I'm like, is that going to be what's happening here too? Like, or does he just mean this episode because he's cute and he knows that this is one of 8 episodes of this game?
Oh yeah, it also should be noted that at some point, I think around the scene with the invisible person in the hallway, he definitely starts talking to himself, but not in the way that normal people talk to themselves.
Yeah.
He starts like talking like he's 2 different people.
Yeah, he starts like getting a response.
Like it's subtle, but like at first it's like internal dialogue, like just debating with yourself, like we all do. But like at some point the writing just slightly changes, where it goes from typical like what I might say, I'll be like, like, come on, Maddie, we gotta hurry up and get ready to go. You're gonna be late. It goes from that to something that is not that.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's totally like
back and forth constantly.
It's like back and forth. There are legitimately 2 different people there,
yeah.
And he's like talking to Keiichi. It's freaky and never explained, but it's definitely done enough that it's like some kind of weird thing.
Yeah. So as he's walking home, suddenly all the Higurashi stop chirping, and so,
cool, love it when that happens.
Yeah, like, because that's a thing that like can normally fucking happen. Having lived in the South my whole life, cicadas don't ever stop. Like, that's
never fucking shut up.
That's just the background noise of living in the South. Like, it was so weird when I went to Boston and I just walked outside and it was fucking quiet. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, it was like weird because like it's one of those things that it's such a constant. Like, how you can't hear your own air conditioner most of the time. You definitely can't hear your own fridge. Both of those things are ridiculously loud. You just ignore it. I've lived in the South my entire life. I've ignored cicada cries. I don't fucking hear them at all unless I get close to one type thing. So going to a place that was cold and didn't have them was just fucking creepy. It felt like the world was wrong. But, yeah, so them all stopping suddenly is definitely not a good sign. So, he hears someone behind him, and he's like, all right, well, let me go and do the turnaround and creep up on him sort of thing. But he turns around, and he doesn't have to, because Reina is just slowly walking up to him, carrying a fucking hatchet. And he's like, why do you have that hatchet? And she's like, oh, I'm just going back to the landfill to get more treasure, right? And not right.
Yeah.
So he's like, fuck you, I'm out of here, fucking finally doing something smart. And he runs off to go
Alright,
home.
I'm gonna head out.
But much like Nosferatu, she's always right behind him. Like, no matter how fast he runs, he'll stop, catch his breath, turn around, and she's just like 1 block behind him, tops. So he's like, don't follow me. And she's like, we live in the same neighborhood. I'm just walking home. And he's like, okay, well, I have an errand to run. And he just dives into a side street, and she still follows him. And he's like, I thought you said you were walking home. And she's just like, I just want to talk, Keiichi. You want to talk to me too? Kana. You're scared, aren't you, Keiichi? And he goes, no. And she goes, that's a lie too. And I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
Well, you got me there.
And so she full on chases him out into the forest, and he stumbles. So she brings the hatchet like up above her head, ready to bring it down. And Keiichi asks what happened to Satoshi, and she's like, he transferred out. And so he asks about all the murders, and she's like, Oyashiro-sama is real. He talks to me. I know he talks to you too. Don't you hear his apologies? And then Keiichi gets another, like, life in danger flashbacks is a thing Keiichi did like 2 or 3 times this fucking week. And so he gets this huge flashback where he remembers part of the combo with Big Tasty from before, and Reina didn't just break the windows. She was attacked with she attacked 3 boys with the baseball bat. And they didn't press any charges. And when Big Tasty went to talk to the school denied it ever even happened. And so during therapy, when she started talking about Oyashiro-sama and how he curses you if you turn your back to the village by leaving or being an enemy of the village. So it cuts back to the present, and Keiichi remembers Reina's a 14-year-old girl, and he just kicks her in the legs, pushes her out of the way, and runs for it. So he ends up at the dam site where he sees some adults, and he's like, oh, awesome, I'm in public now. Reina can't hurt me in public. I'm safe. So then they see him, and they're just
I haven't seen Hot Fuzz.
Yeah,
So
I've never seen Hot Fuzz before. And so this will all go just fine.
Yeah. So, of course, they see him, and they're just like, get him! They start fucking chasing after him. And so they keep gaining on him, so he stops and swings the bat at them and knocks one of them over, but then they get back up and beat the ever-living shit out of him so much that he passes out. So he wakes up, and he's all the way back in his room, and Reina's standing over him, and she's like, oh, you just woke up, and but before we got here, you were able to walk by yourself. Like, we propped you up, and you said that you were okay, and you asked for us to take you home, and we took you home. And he's like, I don't remember any of that shit. And she's like, oh, I called a doctor for you. And he gets up to leave, and they're like, no, where are you going? He's like, I just have to go pee. So he goes downstairs to grab the phone to call Big Tasty. But when he gets downstairs, Miona's there. And she seems totally back to normal, and so does Reina, and Keiichi is dumb as shit still, and he's like, oh, well, obviously nothing's the matter, so yeah, Mion, you can fucking come in. And so Mion comes in, and they're like, yeah, put that fucking phone down, you don't have to pee, come back upstairs. And they're like, lay down, you need your rest. And so then he's resting, and they're talking amongst themselves, and they mention, like, yeah, the director will be here soon. And he's like, who's the director? And they're like, silly. Well, they don't say silly, they cackle. I forgot to mention Reina's cackle this whole last scene. It's like a 35-second voice clip of a fucking cackle. It's like 2 text boxes full.
Oh yeah, she started doing that last scene, and now she does it all the time.
Yeah, now she won't
totally
stop. Normal,
very normal, regular thing to do.
Yeah, and so Mion does that same laugh with Reina right here, and it's just like, ha 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 ha. The director is the director, silly. And he's like, okay, circular logic doesn't work. Who the fuck is the director? Why'd you bring him to my house? And so,
well, also what they keep doing is, when they say the director is the director, the first time they say it, it's capital D, and second time they do it, it's lowercase d, so they're like, the person called the director is the general noun director. And he's still just like, yeah, okay, but I don't know why there would be a regular director and what he's directing. I was thinking they were going to go and do like a meta thing here, like the director of the game shows up or something. Right. But no, that's not where it goes.
No, it's not where it goes. So, excuse me. So suddenly, Reina holds Keiichi from behind, and Mion pulls out a fucking syringe and starts like coming to inject Keiichi, and he's like, what are you going to do to me? And she goes, the same thing we did to Tomitake-san. And he's like, wait, what? And so Mion comes towards Keiichi, and right as she grabs him, he says he feels an electric shock and passes out. So when he comes to, he's all alone in his room, and he's like, thank God, it was all a hallucination. I don't have to worry about anything. But then he looks down, and he sees Reina's body, and Mion's body was like trying to climb out of the window for safety, and both of their heads have been bashed in with the bloody metal bat much like the one in Keiichi's hand.
They are dead. They are real dead.
Real dead.
Like, it's pretty graphic. You don't actually see them. There's not a single graphic of them, which is kind of funny. But the description is, he didn't just kill him. He was apparently going to town.
Yeah. Which the anime spoiled was the opening scene. So, cool. But,
well, I was thinking about that. I feel like some parts of it don't add up. But yeah, it's obviously similar to the opening scene.
Yeah. But, and Francesco did say that was a spoiler that wasn't a spoiler, so we'll see.
Yeah.
So, it was a spoiler for this reveal right here, because, Ryukishi 07 doesn't call this a visual novel, he calls it a sound novel, and so he spends like excruciating amount of times on making sure the music matches up and the sounds match up. And the sound right here is the exact same sound that you hear at the beginning. So it is meant to link the two for this twist that we were spoiled by the anime. But apparently this twist is a pre-twist that gets twisted later somehow.
Yeah. When I say it doesn't add up, all I mean is like it's obviously the same theme, but what I mean is the dialogue from the beginning that was said might not be what actually was said here. You know, I feel like if you copy pasted what happened at the beginning to here, it might not actually add up, and I think that's probably important. Oh, absolutely on purpose. Yeah, I just want to bring that up that it's not just like and then that happened. You know what I mean?
So he hears voices outside, and he looks, and there's like a bunch of people there, like 5 or 6 people, all just standing outside of his door, menacingly. And one of them,
they're here to kill the beast.
One of them is wearing a doctor's coat, but he mentions like all of them kind of feel like Yakuza, like they're all about to like beat the shit out of him, and don't feel like a doctor whatsoever. And then he also. What the weird. So I have noise canceling headphones, and they like were actually canceling the noise so much that it was like hurting my ears. You know, like when your ears get clogged on a plane and you can't hear anything.
Oh yeah, I get that because they're actually applying like pressure to your ears.
Yeah, it was fucking weird. So I thought I was dying for a second, but so he.
Well, I'm glad you're okay and not dying.
We're all dying.
So he. Sam. I mean, just some faster than others.
Speak for yourself.
But, so he sees the white van parked outside, which is the one that ran him off of the fucking road. So he's like, okay, these people are here to kill me. They obviously realized that the girls weren't able to kill me. These are the people that they had called to come and kill me. So I'm going to fucking get the fuck out of Dodge. So he, is getting ready to leave. Then he remembers the note and awkward conversation he had with his parents about his clock. So he adds to it, Reina and Mion did it. There are 5 adults working together. One of them is called the director. It might be the foreman from the construction site, somehow alive. Tomitake was killed with a drug, just like this syringe. And he taped the syringe to the back of the clock too, hung it back up, and he left out the back door. But, of course, they had people watching every exit, so they see him leaving, and they chase him, and he runs into the woods. And he doesn't ever look back, because if he does, he's sure that he'll be caught, and so he just keeps running. Then it cuts to black, and we get a brand new narrator at the police station. This is the only real time we've gotten a narrator change. There was one part where we had an omniscient voice that was voiced by some female voice actor way back at the Watanagashi. But this is the only real time we've had a new narrator. But it turns out we're Big Tasty now, and he gets a call from Keiichi, who's calling from a payphone, and Keiichi's like, Oyashiro-sama is real, and he's following me, and he's right behind me, and I don't want to turn around. And Big Tasty is like, please turn around. Tell me who it is that's attacking you. And Keiichi's like, I can't fucking do it. I can't turn around. And then Big Tasty hears Keiichi claw out his own throat over the line, and it's graphic. Yeah. And it's gross. And I wanted
the cops get there 4 minutes later because he called the cops, but they're too late. And
yeah. So then we see a newspaper clipping about the incident, and it's all framed like a murder that Keiichi did all himself. They're like, oh, Keiichi went off the rails and killed these girls. and then he went and clawed out his own throat to try and trick the cops to thinking that it was related to the last murder in town, but obviously he was just trying to get away with it. And so the cops did eventually find the note, but the lines about the foreman being alive were cut off, and the line about the syringe was cut off, and the syringe was missing. But there was a bunch of tape because he used a bunch of Scotch tape to keep it there. A lot of the tape was still there, so they could tell something was missing, but they didn't know what. So the case remains unresolved to this day. The end.
I just wanted to say, Keiichi couldn't have seen Hot Fuzz because it didn't come out until 5 years after this game was made.
That too.
But also, this game took place in 1983.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
if only they had made Hot Fuzz in 1982.
I know. Then this whole thing could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Or, any other stories that are the same plot, like that movie, that short story, The Lottery.
Yes.
So let's listen to one more song from Higurashi, and then we'll talk about the epilogue and the tips and our favorite moments and all of that stuff, and wrap this bad boy up. So, did you watch? Y'all got me fucking using the wrong word for this fucking game. Did you play the epilogue as well, Eli?
I watched them all. I watched every single one. I played nothing. This is not a game.
I did watch the epilogue. I really liked the epilogue, and I'll share my interesting theory after we talk about that.
Yeah, so the epilogue is cool. They're back at Hooters having an after party because they wrapped the fucking game, and they're like...
to be clear, when you say they, you're referring to the cast of the game,
the
characters.
All of the characters, characters.
Except for Keiichi.
And it keeps coming up in the epilogue that Keiichi doesn't have character art in this game. So
which is why he's not there.
Which is why he's not there. So to get him there, they call him on the phone. And that's it. And it's great.
Which is extremely funny.
It's so good. But... it's really cool because what the epilogue does is it's all the characters having this conversation that we're having right now, asking like, what do you think happened? Do you think it's the demons are real? Do you think it's people did it? How do you explain this? How do you explain that? Sort of thing to make, because like before, When They Cry was an accepted series and knew that it was all going to be, you're going to have 10 of these and they were all going to be mysteries and it was all going to be weird. Like people didn't know. So you needed to have this epilogue where it was like, hey, here's the central mystery. Try and figure it out. There's going to be a second episode to give you some more information. And it was really well done and really, really cute. And it brought back the Chocobo song for the first time since middle of last week. Back when things were happy.
During happier times.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting is that it's kind of like in cartoons. Like, you know how, like, Pixar movies sometimes will have, like, fake bloopers at the end? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because, like, it's like the characters themselves are playing the characters. Like, like Mr. Potato Head isn't an actor. Mr. Potato Head is real, but he's making a movie, right? Yes. That's how this is. Like it's not the voice actors talking, it's the characters themselves talking. Yeah. As if, like, they actually went to this school with Mion and Reina and all them, and then we're like, let's make a creepy movie with y'all. And then afterward, we're like, okay, but y'all are still, like, school kids. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like... Yeah, they're still discussing it as the characters.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Which is cute. But I like here how they explicitly lay out what had already been very clear before, which is that it's very much a Lady and the Tiger situation. Like, really, so many things in the story could be explained as either it's just a Hot Fuzz humans thing, or there's a fucked up curse, or Keiichi is fucking crazy.
Well,
just completely paranoid. But none of those explanations 100% work. None of them work.
When they call Keiichi, he actually, because they're trying to break the tie, because Oishi, Reina, and Satoko all believe it was a curse. Mion, Rika, and Tomitake all believe it was just people. They call Keiichi to break the tie, and he's like, it was both.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Which I think is correct, because I don't think it could be 100% any of those, because it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying earlier with, like, I think it's people, but I think there's some sort of, like, creepy power shit that they are able to do, and that's what causes it all to happen.
And I personally do think a few scenes are just Keiichi being paranoid. The scene with the scene with the ghost in the hallway, at least until the end. At least until the end of the game, I definitely was like, no, you're just flipping out because of your extreme anxiety. Like, I get it, but like, you're just flipping out. There's no danger here.
Yeah.
But you certainly cannot explain the entire story with that.
Yeah. And so if this series is anything like Umineko, so the first season, I guess we'll call it, since y'all are talking about watching it. So the first season, like, it leans heavier on the people did it sort of thing. Like, it's like Reina did it, Mion did it. Very rarely, like, when it talks about the curse, it's always from Big Tasty, who the I think it's funny. Big Tasty, the character, doesn't think it's a curse. Big Tasty, the actor in the thing, is like, oh, it's definitely a curse. I was just saying my lines.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
But so every time we hear about the curse, it's from him, who doesn't believe it, and so it, like, sets us up to be on the side of humans did it. Episode 2 will probably be all demon all the time, just completely screwing up the works, because that's how Umineko did it as well, where the second one was just like, the thing we force fed you, well, good luck fucking believing that anymore, which is really cool. But
do y'all have a theory that isn't any of those three, that is conspicuously not even remotely mentioned in the epilogue, which is why I think it's true?
So I have vague ideas, but no, I'm not sure what you're referencing.
Do either of you? Okay, I think that Uishi is hella sus.
You think Big Tasty is suspicious?
I think he's extremely suspicious. Like, think about how much stuff that Keiichi was freaking out about. Think about how much information we know about the plot of the game that was only shit that Uishi told us.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that Uishi told us was never corroborated in any other way besides just Uishi said it. And he could have been making up all of that shit, or a lot of it at least. Also, at the end, he clearly took the syringe. Now, there's a good reason. He probably took it to continue his private investigation because he knew the cops would screw it up, but he also could have taken it for suspicious villain reasons.
And so he could be the director from way back in the day, is my pet theory. Somehow he was that guy, and
I hadn't thought about that until 10 minutes ago, but I agree.
It was all faked because, like you said, he ripped off the thing, and the way, and Mion's quote it was that bastard, I should have killed him back then. He forgot the mercy I showed him just because he was close to retirement. Makes me think. He was
really makes you think.
He was the director, and he's trying to prove the other ones are a thing to get himself off scot-free and kind of get revenge type thing. So, like, it could be, I think there's something up with that.
Though I will say, the lines about the director in the note, those were just the lines that were taped to the part with the syringe. So I saw that as just
it specifically
someone
talked
removed
about
the syringe.
It specifically talked about how there were 3 lines worth of text removed from the middle of the paper. It wasn't at the bottom; it was the middle. It was
right,
in
but
2
I think
pieces.
that's where the syringe was taped onto the back. Was in the middle.
It never said that. Like, it never talked about where the syringe was. But so it could just be coincidence.
Yeah.
But the fact that it only cut out the sentence talking about the director being alive is super suspicious as well.
That is suspicious.
Also,
I gotta say, Keiichi jumped to director means the old foreman kind of
immediately,
contrivedly fast.
Yeah,
like they just said the word director, and he's like, "Oh, do they mean the old foreman?" Now I'm 100% convinced that that's the case, and I'm like, "What, dude? Director could be a million different people. Why is that what you jumped to all of a sudden? It was actually a little contrived.
Yeah. But also, so speaking of Big Tasty being suspicious, in part 1 of this week, he meets Big Tasty for real at the first time, and he's very like, we have to play this super chill. We can't like meet each other directly, so I'm going to give you my phone number and we'll coordinate over the phone. And then the first time when Big Tasty calls him, Big Tasty's like, I gave you the wrong number.
Oh,
here's
yeah.
a new number.
That's right.
It could be an imposter the entire time.
It's an imposter the entire time.
Fuck! It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers shit.
Yeah. And so Francesco's a little asshole. And he said he wasn't spoiling anything, but the way he was talking about it was definitely a spoiler. And I didn't want to bring this up until now. It's okay because we're done.
Because we're done.
But so because I was talking about the beginning, and I was like, yeah, with Keiichi like being killed or whatever, and he was like, "Are you sure that's Keiichi?" And which implies was a slight spoiler for no, Keiichi was the attacker. But then I also was like, why does Mion have a gun? And he goes, I don't know. Are you sure that's even Mion? Which then, when he was like, this isn't the Reina that I know, and he says that with such conviction and not just like in denial, makes me think, yeah, there's Invasion of the Body Snatchers type shit, and he's not talking to Big Tasty, and this isn't Reina, and this isn't Mion, and some crazy shit is going to happen.
But it does seem to switch back and forth like mid-scene, so yeah. I still see it as being like demonic possession.
It's too bad I'll never find out because I'm not watching any more of these.
You can finish the anime.
That's true. I might actually do that.
I definitely am playing the rest of them, not right now because they're too fucking long, but I have to.
They're good.
I did finish the Onikakushi arc of the anime. The pacing is real fast compared to the game.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine.
It takes like 5 episodes to get through Onikakushi.
Yeah, they put all 8 episodes take place over like 24 episodes of the anime, which is real fast.
Yeah.
But
so I feel like I'd be missing out on some stuff, but at the same time, I don't have that kind of time to sit down and watch visual novels.
Yeah.
Maybe I could work it into my dinner routine, like watch it while I'm eating dinner for like the next year.
Yeah. Something.
Instead of just scrolling Twitter and being upset like a dipshit.
Yeah. But yeah, it's real good. Having finished this story in the visual novel and read a bunch of Umineko as the manga, I also, Eli, that's another way you could do it. I don't know if you have a lot of manga time, but manga time that isn't Sailor Moon, that is. But the library here in Austin, at least, has all of Higurashi and Umineko.
Oh, okay.
But thank goodness for libraries. Support your local libraries.
Support your local library.
I think I heard somewhere that I actually cannot get a Leander library card. Because while I technically live in Leander, I am not within the municipal something border bullshit because I'm closer to Liberty Hill, and I couldn't vote in the mayoral election because of this.
Weird.
Yeah.
But
so voting in the election, don't get me wrong, that's bullshit. But on the other hand, I get it because they got to be strict about that kind of stuff, or they don't have to, but they are. But library, I don't know. Maybe you could just just show them where you live, and then just do sort of like a, come on, man, kind of face.
I know,
you know what I mean?
The Austin library, if you want, because there's one right here by my house, which is real close to where you work, Eli. They have a thing where you can just buy a library card. So instead of getting one for free from your taxes, you just pay $10 a year or whatever the fuck it is, and you just get a library card that you can then use in that city.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Unfortunate though, because I would like to be able to just get a free library card.
I mean, yeah, but
that's what taxes are for.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's but what's cool about the manga is each episode is drawn by a different artist, so you get it feels like a Western comic book in that regard, where you get to see how's how's Todd McFarlane going to draw Spider-Man versus how's Tim Sale going to draw Spider-Man? And you get,
is Mion going to have a gun or not have a gun?
Right?
Who knows?
She gets a gun in the anime, and do they not bring it up at all in the anime, Eli?
Sorry, the gun?
Yeah. Do they bring up the gun at all?
No. Nobody says a goddamn thing about it. She just fucking has a gun.
It's just a weird, long-running joke. Maybe it's like a pretend gun, you know? It's just part of her fashion.
Yeah.
And if she goes into someone's mind world, then the fake gun becomes a real gun.
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing I feel like I should mention, actually. So Keiichi, you know, definitely dies at the end of this episode.
Yep.
Extremely dies. Or does he?
Yeah.
The whole epilogue gives a weird impression. Like, Keiichi is... Like, I was thinking, like, Keiichi's dead. The next episode will be about something else, right? But Keiichi's, like... The whole epilogue is framed like Keiichi's the main character of the series.
And he's got to read the script for the next part.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta read the script for the next one. And the characters are like, wow, I wonder what's gonna happen to Keiichi in the next episode. And I'm like,
one
being
of them,
dead? Continuing to be dead?
What? One of them mentions that the episode is going to give more backstory and start before the other one.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be like, maybe it'll be like the 1800s or something, and then like Keiichi's there, you know what I mean? And maybe it's like a reincarnation thing. Who fucking knows?
I don't
That's
know.
what I'm guessing. I'm guessing it being like a significant flashback.
So, this might be it, because this is how it is in Umineko. But like I mentioned earlier, Umineko is a Groundhog Day where it's the same thing happening over and over again, but it's always happening different. But the mystery you're trying to figure out is not how it happened. It's who did it and why, and the ancillary questions. And so maybe if we go back, we'll follow Keiichi, and Keiichi will die again at the end. Or maybe Keiichi will survive, but Reina will die, and we'll have to figure out all of the shit that's happening there. And so maybe that's what it'll do. That's what the feeling I was getting by being a cheater and watching the sequel first. But we'll see, because like that part is my favorite part of Umineko, where it's like, because normally, like, especially at the pace that these things are, if you told me, hey, or especially if you told Eli, hey Eli, you're going to have to sit through the fucking card games at the beginning again.
Nope.
He would never fucking play it ever again.
Nope.
But because things are always different, and if there's ever something the same, they just like sum it up in a panel where they're just like, yeah, and so then they played the card game. Next panel.
Oh,
blah, blah, blah.
it's Homestuck.
Yeah, it's kind of Homestuck, and so maybe
it's like how in chapter 6 of Homestuck they're like, and then all this shit from the chapters 1 through 4 happened again.
Yeah,
we're not going to explain it happening again. We're just going to tell you it all happened again. Okay, now on to whatever happens next after that.
Yeah, yeah, it's basically what they do, and that part's really cool. If that's not how Higurashi does it, don't sue me. That's how Umineko does it, and Umineko's awesome. But that's my pet theory, is that we'll go back and we'll be thinking we're getting a prequel, but then it won't be a prequel. It'll be something new, and you'll be like, how the fuck is this different? And it'll explain something. But yeah, cool. Anything else before we wrap up and I go and have a doctor's appointment? Oh, our memorable moments. We didn't even fucking get to that part. We just were all in conspiracy land.
Oh,
so
I think that Uishi murdered Jeffrey Epstein. Speaking of conspiracy land, no,
that's a bad take.
Moment.
Big Tasty is Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh God,
he faked his own death.
Yes.
Anyway, that's why he's always being so weird, hanging around kids all the time.
Yes.
Anyway, my only memorable moment is just the, two. First of all, is the invisible person scene.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that scene is so stupendously well written, and
yeah.
I think I might have some pictures on my phone, but since it was like 3 weeks ago, I'm not going to scroll back through it.
Yeah.
They just do a really great job of just having him just going hog wild, and he's so much in his head, and he's just completely convinced, and then literally, the very next scene, he's just like, wait a second, maybe I'm being silly.
Yeah.
My other memorable moment is, you skipped over this, but it's really just a comedy beat, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
actual extremely amazing moment of terror / comedy. The whole scene where he's on the phone with Uishi-san, and then he goes downstairs, and all of that terrifying shit happens. And it's so crazy, and you're edge of your seat, you know, with her hand in the door and stuff. And you're like, you know, your tension, your heart rate's way up. It's like super tense. And then you go upstairs, and it's still scary. And all of a sudden, he sits down on the bed, but he sits on a hard lump on the bed, and he freaks the fuck out because he's like, "Oh my god, something's in my bed, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like biting my nails at this point.
I was like, he
and
just sat on the fucking phone.
Right, well, I'd forgotten because the scene goes on for so long. So he's freaking out, and I'm freaking out, and then he throws off the covers, and it's the phone, and he's like, "Oh right, I was on the phone," and I laughed my ass off. Like, that's just great fucking horror writing, right? Like, you ratchet the tension up, and then it turns out it's something funny. You know? So good. And then my final one is one of the notes, is one of the clues, is a weird flashback of him being in the grocery store, and he's just reliving it. It's him being in the grocery store and someone's behind him watching, but the narration and the writing of it is weird. It's like, it's not like a dream or a memory. It's like he's reliving it, and he's trying to like change what happens, but he can't change what happens because it's a dream, or because it's a memory, because of course in the original memory he didn't turn around, so he's like trying to turn around but like can't, and it's super fucking weird.
Yeah, that's cool. I must have missed that one.
Yeah, it was.
They all have like the same. They have like all the same icon, and so it's easy to just get lost sometimes when you're doing it. Go ahead.
I also really liked those scenes. I also really liked him sitting on the phone receiver, and I really love. I like how psychological it gets with Keiichi, because I'm really into like I much prefer psychological horror over like slashers and stuff. I like the shit that makes you question what you're seeing and things like that.
And like with this game, I was like slightly spoiled Google Images style when like I was looking for sprites, and I would see like fan art and things from the anime with like Reina with a hatchet, and I was always just like, what the fuck? Because like that was like early on when I was like, no, like Reina's a cute, sweet girl. What do you mean she has a hatchet?
Yeah.
And so I was like, please don't just be a slasher horror thing. And there was like none of that.
Yeah.
Like even all the times where like people died a gruesome death, it was off screen, which was great.
I appreciated that a lot. And I just like Rena being super creepy. Her. Like, that's another thing that I like in horror, is just straight up creepy shit, and she is very, very creepy. And Mion gets creepy too, but it doesn't feel like she gets that way to the extent that Rena does.
Yeah, no, Reina, or Mion, the conversation in the schoolyard with Mion is weird because it's so frank.
Yeah.
It's just like a victim and a killer just like chatting it up and being very blunt about what's going on, and there's not that creepy factor. It's like, which is also terrifying, but in definitely a totally different way. It's Rena's like, Keiichi, did you eat the mochi? And meanwhile, Mion's just like, yeah, we're gonna fucking kill you, bitch. I've got a gun.
All right, so I need to get dressed and leave. So my only remaining memorable moment that we haven't touched on was, I don't remember who says it. I think it's Keiichi. It might be Big Tasty, but they just say, stuffing rice down your gullet in between sipping long sips of miso soup. Oh, how great it is to be Japanese.
That was Keiichi.
It's so good.
It was when Rena brought the food, and he was thinking about how delicious it would be compared to the cup ramen.
Yeah. But I got to Geo out the Dio, so that'll do it for the week. If you want to be like Francesco and sponsor an episode, you can do so at ko-fi.com/rpgbookclub. Otherwise, come and hang out with us at www.rpgbook.club. As always, for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I'm Maddie.
Love you, bye.
Toodaloo, bitches.